At my family dinner, my parents demanded I rehire Derek after I bought his failing company. Dad said, "This isn't how we raised you." I looked at them and replied, "You're right. You raised me to accept whatever scraps I was thrown and be grateful for them. You raised me to believe that my needs didn't matter as long as Derek was taken care of. But somewhere along the way, I learned that I deserve better." The silence that followed was deafening. Mom's fork clattered against her plate, and Dad's face went through several shades of red before he found his voice again. "That's not fair," he said. "We always treated you children equally." I almost laughed. Almost. Instead, I pulled out my phone and showed them my banking app. The balance read $8.2 million. Derek's company was appraised at $85,000 when I bought it, I said quietly. He was 6 weeks from bankruptcy. The only reason he's still employed is because I chose to keep him on as a project manager instead of letting him lose everything. They stared at the screen in stunned silence. After 36 years of being the invisible middle child, I finally had their complete attention. Let me back up, because this story starts 3 years ago with a $10 scratch-off ticket and the biggest surprise of my life. But to understand why this moment was so satisfying, you need to know what my family was really like. I'm 36, a diesel mechanic from Columbus, Ohio, and for most of my life, I was what you might call the extra sibling. Not the golden child, not the black sheep, just the forgettable middle kid nobody really paid attention to. While I worked 12-hour shifts in freezing garages fixing big rigs for barely enough to keep a roof over my head, my older brother Derek lived in a completely different world. Derek, 39, had always been the golden boy. Our parents didn't just help him start a construction business after college. They gave him $75,000 in equipment money, co-signed loans, and continued bailing him out whenever cash flow got tight. This guy drove brand new trucks every couple of years and genuinely believed he was a self-made success story. The cognitive dissonance was stunning. He'd post those cringy hustle and grind motivational quotes on Facebook while conveniently forgetting that his empire was built on our parents' foundation. Then there was Kyle, 31, still living in our parents' basement, perpetually between opportunities while working on the next big thing. Every few months he had some revolutionary app idea or cryptocurrency scheme that was going to make him millions. Spoiler alert, none ever panned out. But Mom still brought him sandwiches cut into triangles like he was 7 years old. My sister Lisa was different. She's 33, a single mom raising her 8-year-old daughter Emma, basically alone, after her ex decided fatherhood wasn't for him. Lisa struggled to make rent every month working part-time at a hair salon, but she never complained. She'd post pictures of Emma's school projects with captions like, "So proud of my little artist," while wearing the same 3 outfits on rotation because every spare dollar went to her kid. And then there was me, the invisible one. When I lost my apartment at 28 because the landlord sold the building, guess who didn't get offered a couch to crash on? That's right, the family with a whole finished basement going unused except for Kyle's gaming setup. Instead, I spent 6 weeks sleeping in my truck in various parking lots, showering at the 24-hour gym, trying to maintain some dignity while my life fell apart. The breaking point came when my truck's transmission died. I was looking at a $3,200 repair bill with $180 in my checking account. So I swallowed my pride and called Derek, explained the situation, asked for a loan, not a handout, a loan with interest and a payment plan. I even offered to work extra hours at his company to pay it back. Derek listened to my whole story, then started laughing. Not a chuckle, full-blown laughter like I'd just told him the funniest joke he'd ever heard. "Maybe it's time you accept that you're just not cut out for much," he said between laughs. "Some people are built for success, and others, well, others are built for other things." That sentence lodged itself in my brain like a splinter. I ended up taking a payday loan at 400% interest, spent the next 8 months eating ramen noodles and peanut butter sandwiches to pay it off. 3 years ago, everything changed. It was a Friday night in February, and I'd just finished one of those shifts that makes you question your life choices. I stopped at a gas station partly for gas, partly because the heater in my truck was acting up, and I needed a few minutes in a warm building. I had exactly $47 in my wallet. $35 went to gas, leaving me $12 for weekend food. But there, behind the counter, was a display of scratch-off tickets. I'm not usually a gambling man, but something about that night made me pull out a $10 bill. "Give me one of those $10 tickets," I told the cashier, pointing to a game called Millionaire's Club. I scratched it right there at the counter because the truck was cold and the store was warm. First box, $500,000. Second box, $500,000. Third box, $500,000. My heart started doing something irregular in my chest. I checked the rules 3 times. 3 matching amounts wins that amount. But when I looked more carefully, I realized I was reading it wrong. This wasn't $500,000. This was $20 million, which after taxes came out to $13.4 million. I stood there for 5 minutes waiting for the numbers to change, or someone to tell me it was a mistake. I called the Lottery Commission's validation line with shaking fingers. "Congratulations," the automated voice said. "This appears to be a winning ticket." The claiming process took a week. Lawyers, financial advisors, tax specialists. Suddenly, I had a whole team of professionals whose job was to make sure I didn't end up as a cautionary tale. My financial advisor was this no-nonsense woman who'd been managing lottery winners for 15 years. "The money won't change who you are," she told me, "but it will reveal who everyone else is." We set up trusts, diversified investments, created income streams. Conservative estimates put my annual income at $600,000 without touching the principal. But here's the thing, I didn't want to live lavishly yet. I had a plan forming, one that would answer a question eating at me for years. If I really needed help, would my family be there? 2 weeks after claiming the lottery, I started my experiment. I called my parents first with a fabricated crisis story. Laid off from the shop, truck transmission failing again, landlord raising rent. Couldn't make ends meet on unemployment. Dad launched into a lecture about tough times building character. Mom suggested praying about it. When I directly asked for help, maybe crashing in Kyle's old room while job hunting, the conversation got uncomfortable fast. "Your mother and I are on a fixed income," Dad said. "We can't be supporting grown children who should be supporting themselves." This from the man who'd written Derek a $75,000 check just 3 years earlier. Derek's response was equally enlightening. After I gave him the same sob story, he offered me janitorial work cleaning his office after hours. $8 an hour, maybe 15 hours a week. "Beggars can't be choosers," he said when I mentioned my 15 years of mechanical experience. "Take the janitor job or don't, but stop expecting handouts just because we're related." Kyle's response was predictable. "Dang, bro, that really sucks. I'd help if I could, but you know how it is." But Lisa was different. She immediately offered me her couch, her spare key, and $60 from her emergency fund. Money she couldn't afford to give. That $60 was worth more to me than all $13 million in the bank. While my family thought I was struggling to find work, I was actually building something I'd dreamed about for years. Using a shell company, I bought a small warehouse and converted it into a custom truck and off-road vehicle shop. Not just repairs, full custom builds, lift kits, performance engines, custom paint jobs. Everything I'd wanted to do, but never had the capital to attempt. My first employees were Dave and Manny, guys from the freight company who'd actually treated me like a human being. When I offered them jobs at double their previous salary, plus full health benefits, Dave literally started crying. Setting up the business required 6 months of careful planning. Business licenses, insurance, equipment, inventory. I had to learn more about entrepreneurship in 6 months than Derek had learned in his entire pampered life. The best part was remaining invisible. Everyone knew the new shop existed, but nobody connected it to me. Meanwhile, I kept playing the struggling unemployed brother. During these visits with Lisa, she mentioned Derek's business was having problems. Customer complaints were increasing, projects running over budget. He'd had to let 2 guys go. "He's stressed all the time now," she said. "The other day he snapped at Emma just for being a kid." 8 months into my supposed unemployment, I did something that felt better than winning the lottery itself. I bought Lisa a house. Not a mansion, just a modest 3-bedroom in a safe neighborhood with good schools. I had my financial advisor structure it through a dummy corporation. Then my lawyer approached Lisa about a single mother housing assistance program. Lisa was suspicious at first, but when shown the official paperwork, she broke down crying. The day she and Emma moved in, I happened to drive by while they were carrying boxes. "Can you believe this?" Lisa said, practically bouncing with excitement. Emma's going to have her own room with a window that looks out on the backyard. And there's a bathtub. I haven't had a bathtub in 5 years. By the 1-year mark, Derek's construction business was in serious trouble. The Facebook posts about success had stopped entirely. The shiny new truck was replaced by a 3-year-old model. That's when he called me with his fake friendly voice. I heard you might still be looking for work, he said. My business is in a growth phase. I need someone I can trust to help take things to the next level. Maybe we could be partners. Partners. That was rich. I'd still be the primary owner, obviously, he continued, but I could see giving you maybe a 5% stake in exchange for a significant investment. How significant? $400,000 should do it. It's a bargain considering what the company's worth. $400,000 from someone he thought was unemployed and desperate. I spent the next week having Derek's business thoroughly investigated. The results were worse than expected. He owed money to suppliers, had 3 clients threatening lawsuits, and was 6 weeks from bankruptcy. His investment opportunity was actually a desperate attempt to stay afloat. I called Derek back and told him I'd found an investor willing to put up money. We met at a steakhouse downtown. Derek showed up in a leased BMW, ordered the most expensive steak, and spent 20 minutes talking about vacation plans and new equipment purchases. Tell me about this investor, he finally said, cutting into his $60 ribeye. He's very interested in construction, has cash available, looking for the right opportunity. So, what are we talking here? The full 400? He'd prefer to buy the company outright, sees more potential in ownership than partnership. Derek's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. Buy it outright? This company's worth millions. How much exactly? At least 2 million, maybe 3. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and slid it across the table. Derek's expression went from confidence to confusion to shock as he stared at the screen showing $8.2 million. I had it appraised, I said quietly. Professional evaluation, 3 different firms, they all came back with the same number, $85,000. Derek's face went through several color changes. Derek, you're 6 weeks away from losing everything. Here's what I'm offering. $85,000 cash for 100% ownership. You can stay on as a project manager with competitive salary. Project manager? It's my company. It was your company. Now it's just debt and bad reputation. Take the deal, Derek, because it's the only one you're getting. Derek signed the papers 3 days later. He didn't have a choice. Sell to me or declare bankruptcy and lose everything anyway. The transition was swift and comprehensive. I kept good employees, let go of dead weight, settled outstanding debts and lawsuits. Most importantly, I restructured everything to serve customers instead of just enriching the owner. Derek's first day as my employee was educational. He showed up at 10 a.m. because owners don't punch clocks and headed straight for his old corner office. Morning, Derek. Your workspace is over here, I said, leading him to a desk in the main room. Where's my office? I converted it into a conference room, much better use of space. His company Audi was gone, replaced by a basic work truck. His expense account was canceled. His salary dropped from $120,000 to $55,000, the same as other project managers. This is temporary, right? He asked. Derek, your value to operations will determine everything about your employment here. Perform well, and you'll be treated well. Underperform, and you'll be replaced. While Derek adjusted to actually working for his money, I made another change. Lisa had always been good with numbers and organization. Skills wasted cutting hair for tips. I offered her operations director position at double her salon salary. I don't have experience running construction projects, she said. You have experience managing a household on no budget, raising a child alone, and keeping multiple jobs organized. Trust me, you're overqualified. Lisa turned out to be exactly what the company needed. She instituted project tracking systems, improved client communication, and somehow kept Derek from screwing up his assignments. Watching Derek take orders from our little sister was perhaps the most satisfying part of my revenge. By month 8, Derek was struggling. The work was harder than he remembered, hours longer than he was used to, and lack of special treatment was wearing on him. It all came to a head during a client meeting, where Derek promised we could complete their project in half the actual time. apparently forgetting he no longer had authority to make such commitments. When the client called to confirm the timeline, Lisa had to explain that Derek had misstated our capabilities. The client came to the shop for a face-to-face meeting and expressed their displeasure loudly. Derek tried deflecting blame, but it was clear he'd simply lied to secure the contract. That was unacceptable, I told him afterward. Look, sometimes you have to tell clients what they want to hear to get the job. No, Derek. Sometimes you tell clients the truth so they can make informed decisions. What you did was dishonest and unprofessional. Since when do you lecture me about business? 6 months ago, you were unemployed and desperate. There it was, the real Derek. And now I own a successful business while you're an employee who just cost us a client. Funny how things change. This is my company. I built this from nothing. You built this into nothing. I'm rebuilding it into something. If you can't accept that, you're welcome to find employment elsewhere. You can't fire me. I'm your brother. I can fire anyone who doesn't do their job properly. Being my brother just means I gave you more chances than I'd give anyone else. Derek stormed out and didn't come back for 3 days. When he returned, the pretense of cooperation was gone, replaced by barely concealed resentment. He started showing up late regularly. His work quality declined, and he made snide comments to other employees about family businesses and lucky breaks. My parents caught wind of the situation and called me, both on speakerphone for maximum impact. "What's this we hear about you humiliating your brother?" Mom asked. "Derek says you bought his company just to torture him," Dad added. "Derek is working as a project manager, same as the other project managers. If he has complaints about his treatment, he can address them through proper channels." "Families should support each other, not tear each other down," Mom said. The irony was so thick I could have cut it with a knife. "You're absolutely right, Mom. Families should support each other. Where was that support when I was sleeping in my truck? Where was it when I needed help with basic transportation to keep working?" That was different. No, it wasn't. The only difference is that now I have the power to help or not help, and I'm choosing to base that decision on how I was treated when I had nothing. Derek lasted another month before reaching his breaking point. He came into my office on a Friday afternoon with an ultimatum. "I want my old role back, full authority, executive salary, company car. This experiment has gone on long enough." I studied him. He looked tired, defeated, but still somehow entitled. "What experiment?" "This whole thing where you pretend to be the boss. We both know I'm the one with experience and connections. Give me back control, and I'll consider letting you stay on as a partner." Even in defeat, Derek couldn't imagine a world where he wasn't the center of everything. "Let me make sure I understand. You want me to give you back the company I bought from you, restore the salary and benefits that were bankrupting the business, and accept a junior role in the company I've spent 8 months rebuilding? When you put it like that, it sounds unreasonable." "It doesn't just sound unreasonable, Derek. It is unreasonable. You can continue working here as a project manager following the same rules as everyone else, or you can find employment elsewhere. Those are your options." Derek's face went through anger, disbelief, desperation, and finally resignation. "You really think you're better than me now, don't you?" "I think I'm more successful than you now. Whether that makes me better is a different question." "This isn't over," he said, heading for the door. "Actually, Derek, it is, and if you decide to leave, don't expect a reference letter." Derek walked out that day and never came back. He didn't even clean out his desk. I heard through the family grapevine that he'd found work at a rival construction company as a basic site supervisor, making about half what I'd been paying him. His girlfriend apparently decided dating a middle management employee wasn't as appealing as dating a business owner. Within 2 months, Derek had moved into a smaller apartment in a less desirable part of town. His social media presence went silent entirely. 6 months later, my parents attempted one final intervention. They invited me to Sunday dinner, the first invitation in over 2 years, for what they thought would be a come-to-Jesus conversation. Which brings us back to that dinner, with Dad saying, "This isn't how we raised you," and me finally telling them exactly how they had raised me. Now sitting at that table with my phone showing $8.2 million, watching their faces as they processed everything, I felt something I'd never experienced before. Complete vindication. "Derek made choices," I continued, And those choices had consequences. He's free to make different choices anytime. But he's family, Mom said, as if that magic word solved everything. So am I. So is Lisa. Funny how being family didn't matter when I needed help, but suddenly it's important now that Derek needs help. They tried guilt, family unity, disappointment. Nothing landed. I left that dinner early and haven't been back since. While Derek struggled with his new reality, Lisa thrived. She implemented systems that increased our efficiency by 30% in the first year. Emma excelled in her new school, making friends, joining activities that would have been impossible in their old situation. Lisa enrolled in business courses and was talking about pursuing a degree. "I never thought I was smart enough for college," she told me one day. "You were never the dumb one," I replied. "You were just the one nobody invested in." Today, Lisa makes more money than Derek ever did and owns her house outright. Emma's in advanced classes and talks about becoming an engineer. Derek works the same supervisor job, lives in the same small apartment, and according to Lisa, looks older every time she sees him. As for me, the custom shop is thriving. We've expanded twice, employ 15 people, and have a 6-month waiting list for custom builds. Kyle finally got a job, not with me, but at a call center downtown making $12 an hour. My parents and I exchange Christmas cards, nothing more. Sometimes I drive by the gas station where I bought that winning ticket. The same cashier still works there, and he always nods when he sees me. He has no idea he handed me the key to everything. Not just the money, but the power to finally show my family exactly what I was cut out for. Turns out Derek was wrong about one thing. I was built for success. I just needed the right opportunity to prove it.